My third and the last video in the series on Israel-Iran war. In this, I'll talk about how Iran is shaping the new Middle East as a prominent global South nation. Now, since Israel and America they believe in military power, there is a very useful lesson of the Cold War, which was about military power, that needs to be said here. In the Cold War, there were two military blocs. There was Soviet Union, which led the Warsaw Pact, and NATO led by America. And the thing was that in the 50s, the Pentagon realized that the conventional capability of the Warsaw Pact was more than theirs. That the Warsaw Pact had more tanks, it had more guns, and this needed to be offset. So they came up with the first offset strategy, also called the New Look strategy, where instead of matching the Warsaw Pact tank for tank, gun for gun, the Americans introduced tactical nuclear weapons. The whole idea was that the tactical nuclear weapons will stop the offensive of the conventional forces of Warsaw Pact. Now this was the time when the Warsaw Pact had the big bombs like the NATO had, but they did not have tactical nuclear weapons. So it seems that the first offset strategy worked fine until the 70s when things changed. This is when the Pentagon realized that Warsaw Pact had the big bombs, the big nuclear weapons like they had, and they also had comparable tactical nuclear weapons and their command and control system. So once again, it had to be offset the capabilities of the Warsaw Pact, and they came up with the second offset strategy, but that has nothing to do with my discussion. The useful lesson that I want to talk of the Cold War is this, that when there are two opposing countries, they need to have conventional deterrence. And in case there are nuclear weapons there with one country or both countries, which in fact both countries should have nuclear weapons, and otherwise there will be no parity at the strategic level. And when you have the nuclear weapons, a separate nuclear deterrence is required. So the point to make once more is conventional weapons deterrence separate from nuclear deterrence, that is once again separate. Now bring this lesson to the Middle East theater. Until the night of June 21, 22, when the Americans directly attacked Iran, the situation was different. Iran faced a hostile environment in the form of Israel, knowing fully well that Israel was completely backed by America's Central Command and America's military power, and that Israel has nuclear weapons, but the nuclear weapons are in the closet, they are not out in the open. So to meet this challenge, the Iranians came up with their own strategy. As far as the conventional capabilities were concerned of Israel, and not only of Israel with full backing of America, they came up with their line of offense, something that I have described in my first video in some details. So this worked fine. In fact, we saw the results in the 12-day war that happened, where Iran won over Israel. The other thing was what to do about the Israeli nuclear capabilities which were in the closet. Israel is not a declared nuclear weapon power. So the Iranians concluded that that can be offset by raising their geopolitical profile. And the opportunity was there because the global geopolitics has shifted to Asia Pacific region, and Iran as a prominent member of the global South had become very important geopolitically because of its good geography. So what the Iranians did was that they joined the JCPOA in 2015. And of course, we know that President Trump in his first term in office in May 2018, he withdrew from the JCPOA. But as far as Iran was concerned, they decided that the nuclear weapons could wait. There was no need to go for the nuclear weapons at this stage, and they wanted to offset that with, as I said, their geopolitics through their geography. Look at the geography of Iran. Iran sits at a beautiful place. It connects South Asia, Central Asia and Europe. When you look at the sea, Iran controls two major choke points, the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, which is controlled by its proxy, the Houthis of Yemen. Now, given this, Iran in any case had good ties with two great powers in the present multipolar world, which is China and Russia. And itself being a great power, still being a global South power, it decided to align with the global South nations. Just to give a bit of a reference to the viewers, what we have today in the multipolar world is we have global North and we have global South. The global North is led by America and it is all about military power. Whereas the global South is about development, peace, development through peace, and peace has to be built through a new concept, what is called indivisible security. I'll explain in a while. It's a different concept altogether. So given this, that in any case the Iranians had good ties with these two great powers, the Iranians joined the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank headquartered in Beijing, which came into existence in 2015 as a full member in 2017. And Iran joined the SCO in July 2023 and the BRICS in January 2024. And Iran has applied already for the membership of the new development bank, which is also called the BRICS Bank, which will come about soon. But there is a background to all this. And the background is, as I said, in any case, Iran had good ties with these two great powers. As far as China is concerned, when Xi Jinping became the president and he announced the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013, he visited Iran in 2016. That is when Iran joined the Belt and Road Initiative and signed a strategic partnership with China. Now, this was upgraded in March of 2021 to a 25 years comprehensive strategic partnership agreement, under which China is to invest $400 billion in Iran, and China is today the primary trading partner for Iran, and China helps Iran in very big ways as far as war withdrawal is also concerned. We saw in this 12-day war, it was the Beidou system that helped the Iranian forces with intelligence and for the precision of their missiles that they fired so well into Israel, and also helps with the materials meant for their missiles. Not only that, in 2021, the two countries, they agreed to have a rail link which is between China and Iran going through 4 Central Asian republics, and this was operationalized in May of 2025. So this is a big thing, both for the commercial aspects, for trade, and as well as for the support in war when required. Now, as far as Russia is concerned, Iran has very long-standing relations with Russia. Russia is the primary source of defense supplies to Iran, and Russia has been helping Iran in its nuclear power. And in January 2025, when the Iranian president visited Moscow, the two countries signed a 20 years comprehensive strategic partnership agreement. Not only that, after this, recently we know that there was a EU summit, Eurasian Economic Union summit, which was held in Belarus, where President Putin was there, and EU has decided to have a FTA with Iran. It's the free trade agreement. So the point to make here is very simple, that Iran, despite all the sanctions of the Americans, it has done very well. It has two great assets. It has oil and it has minerals, and it has done very well for itself by its close alignment, making use of its geopolitics through its geography, alignment with two great powers of the global South, and being a useful member of the global South. Now, the good thing here is that in the global South, as I said, they believe in development. They do not believe in military power. When you believe in military power, like the global north, you talk of alliances, you talk of zero-sum game. What has become of the alliances, we can all see in the present day time. As far as NATO is concerned, NATO is on life support. It is at the mercy of President Trump. And on the other side, what we have is an entirely different concept of indivisible security, peace through indivisible security. What this means is that instead of looking at absolute security that the alliance system does, looking at a zero-sum game that, if my security is there, it has to be at the cost of somebody else's. When we talk of indivisible security, we are not talking of absolute security, we are talking of relative security, we are talking of all the concerned members being inside the tent. If everybody is inside the tent, then you have relative security and all the members then can focus on the development through peace. That is the concept. Now we saw this recently, as I said, in the EU summit in Belarus, where President Putin had given the concept of Eurasian security architecture. This is started now and it's galloping. Whereas on the other hand, India, which should be a prominent global south nation but wants to be identified unfortunately with the global north nations, which is the alliance system which believes in absolute security. So there was a problem here. There was a problem when the Chinese President Xi Jinping, he came to India in October 2019 for the second informal summit with Prime Minister Modi. He proposed the concept of indivisible security through triangular peace. That let's have peace between India, China and Pakistan in a concept of indivisible security. Of course, this was not acceptable to the Indian side. It never worked. Similarly, the Russians, the Ukraine war would not have happened if the EU nations would have listened to Russia. 2 times it offered the idea of indivisible security, having a security architecture in Europe, which was not accepted by the European nation. They instead wanted to be part of the NATO. Similarly, when we look at the SCO, of which India also is a prominent member, joined in 2017, SCO is today the ideal concept of indivisible security. You see, SCO started from what used to be the Shanghai Five in 1996, where at that time the total focus was on 3 things: on terrorism, separatism, extremism. But over the years, in 2001, we know that Shanghai Five became SCO, and then SCO has a vision. It has a vision document of 2030 where the focus has shifted. While all those 3 things still remain, but the focus is on development, connectivity and indivisible security. So that is the point. Now, so the whole idea is that indivisible security is ideal for development, and that is how Iran could raise its geopolitical profile, could survive despite all the sanctions of the Americans and American sanctions. Now, things changed, as I said, once President Trump, once the American forces directly attacked Iran. How things have changed is now Iran suddenly has an opponent which is a military superpower and which has nuclear weapons. It is a nuclear weapons superpower. Unlike the earlier case where there was Israel and the Americans were backing Israel. So when we look at this new dilemma, this is something that the Iranians have to resolve. What to do now? Because if Iran had the nuclear weapons today, then perhaps President Trump would not have used derogatory language against Iran's supreme leader. And when asked by a reporter, President Trump, when he was asked by a reporter that in case Iran decides to make the nuclear weapons, he said, "I'll bomb again." So the point to make is, it is that same concept that I was talking about, that the conventional deterrence and the nuclear deterrence has to be separate. There is no other way. to do things at all. So while Iran's profile has gone up, Iran is today the most prominent country in the new Middle East. But it has a challenge to face, and I'm sure the Iranians will find a way out of this.